And Hassan Omar, the UDA Secretary General, is now facing backlash over his controversial remarks made in Mombasa, which are deemed a bit tribal. Yes, a lot of members of the UDA party from the Mount Kenya region have responded by demanding that he resigns as a UDA Secretary General because of these comments that he made. It is also part of what we've covered here at TV47. Let's watch the package.
Opposition leaders have intensified criticism of remarks attributed to UDA Secretary General Hassan Omar, describing them as inflammatory and dangerous, and warning that they could formally petition the International Criminal Court over the statements.
We must petition ICC on official capacity to make sure that Hassan is held accountable of his utterances.
Yale matamshi wamesema imekosea sheria ya hapa, imekosea sheria ya dunia.
Speaking at ACK Kenol Cathedral in Murang'a County, the leaders accused pro-government figures of using divisive political rhetoric to deflect attention from the rising cost of living and the economic difficulties facing many Kenyans.
Kitu cha kudeflect attention. So tunaletewa mambo ya Hassan Joho, naletewa Hassan Omar, tuachane na mambo ya gharama ya maisha.
The leaders argued that national leaders should focus on addressing citizens' concerns instead of engaging in statements they say deepen political divisions and heighten tensions in the country. They also challenged the National Cohesion and Integration Commission to take stronger action against hate speech and political, accusing the agency of failing to fully enforce its mandate.
I see that the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has literally been sleeping on their job.
At the same time, the opposition leaders vowed to reject the proposed Finance Bill 2026, warning that the measures contained in the bill would further increase the tax burden on Kenyans, particularly through higher levies on mobile money transactions.
Reject Finance Bill 2026-2027 because that's introduced quietly leasehold.
Robert Gakure, TV47, Murang'a.
Should be noted that Hassan Omar has been commissioner at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights.
Yeah.
And, well, he's argued that from time to time he's had to represent sentiments from his community or the community where he comes from, on especially the coastal area, on land issues, which are historical injustices. In 2011, some of his comments, which was seen as tribal or promoted tribal differences, was called out by the then government spokesperson, Alfred Mutua. So there's a trend here.
Yeah.
On the front page of Taifa Leo, ukabila. Katibu wa UDA motoni, viongozi kutoka Mlima Kenya washinikiza Hassan Omar ajiuzulu baada ya kuhusishwa na tamshi ya kikabila. Are we overreading this, Ikua?
No, we are not. This is a gentleman who is the Secretary General of the ruling party. So how can we be overreading when in a statement he makes we are supposed to take it with the seriousness it deserves? Apparently, it is actually a growing trend, and it happened at a point where we are also seeing this from other people who are associated with the government. And we even had what the CS for Interior had said a week earlier. So in fact, if you want to look at it from a political angle, you would realize that there is a conversation that have happened behind bars somewhere or behind doors somewhere that, that intentionally, for lack of wisdom or otherwise, want to actually, profile a certain community because they would want to apportion the blame of this government becoming extremely unpopular to a certain community. So when you started there, you start changing the perception of other communities, because in Kenya, when you whip the emotions of communities, that is the time we start remembering, Fwaba is from this region, Mbote is from this region, I understand Nkirote is a daughter of the Ameru people. When you whip the emotions, and it is politically, instigated, it is an intention. All what you see in there is calculated. Only that at some point, when people are doing something, they do not calculate what I would call the reaction. Mm-hmm. So when you accept to be an Omar Hassan, and somebody appoints you to go and say something, they have not calculated for you what would happen after that you'll be forced to, to apologize, where it goes and, backfires, what I would call backfire. The other day, some people started releasing some statements, and all Kenyans said, oh, hata mimi ni Mkikuyu bas. We find friend in the Mori picking a Kamau name. And what Kenyans were saying is not that one community is special or anything, but it is because we are not ready to be ruled and managed from a community lines, from what I would call community lines, because we've all seen what that have gotten us into. So Kenyans of today are not the Kenyans of 20 years ago in 2007. I can tell you, they are different. And it doesn't matter where you come from, even from the Kikuyu side. If you go and say utterances towards a certain community, the same guys from the central Kenya are going to come for your neck because they do not entertain that and they do not want to be taken to other direction. So what Omar did was quite unfortunate. And when you talk about historical land injustices, you're also talking to Kikuyus who went and fought for independence and came out of the forest and found nothing. They did not get land. And by the way, some of those who had land before they went to the forest, they came out and found the land has gone. And they've lived in villages, small villages. If you go to Kikuyu land, there are so many villages that people occupy, historical land injustices. So when you're talking about it, you should be very careful when you want to actually take the country towards that particular line of direction. I've always said that we cannot do a wrong to correct another wrong that was done. Two wrongs doesn't make any right. And I'm not saying that those who have it should not, but I want to imagine what we would open up a Pandora's box. We want to go the route that Julius Malema of South Africa have been forcing his country to go, to an extent that now he has hit the snag. We want to go the Mugabe direction. I don't think that is going to help us. And by the way, at the same time, we have people trying to force in rules that are converting land from freehold to leasehold, such that now people are going to be land is going to be taken away from people, even those who have it, because they cannot afford the rates. So I would say that those remarks were quite unfortunate. They are uncalled for. We are not going to allow anybody to profile any community. I'm not going to talk about profiling the Central Kenya community. Any community. You pick any community, we are going to actually hold you accountable. And going forward, as Kenyans, we are now holding individual responsibility for whatever they have said. Responsible for whatever they have said. So you are what I would call an Arab from Mombasa or from the coast. You say something. We have no business asking the people of the coast what is wrong with them. No, it's not them. Someone was just quietly sitting in their house and you decide to go and release such a careless statement. That is your statement. If you are the Minister of Interior and you've decided to say something that is completely uncalled for, that is not the Rift Valley's community statement. No. It is your statement. Right. You're going to own it. And by the way, anything that happens after that, it's your responsibility.
But this is a very senior ranking official of the ruling party, UDA. The SG, by all standards, should be the spokesperson of the